So I'd like to introduce Karin Przygocki.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, and good morning to all you athletes. I definitely feel a kinship with you because I haven't stopped learning and I have not stopped playing sports, even though I graduated 35 years ago. So I've been at it all this time. Interestingly, my first memories of being an athlete were like physically right here. There used to be a ball field at Inductee Little League that the instructional league players played at. I know when your own coach would just do the real beginners. And those are my first memories of playing sports, right here where this complex is. So growing up in Bristol, starting with the Little League, back in my day, the boys club and the girls club were separate. So I went to girls club for swimming, boys club for youth basketball. You get to North Boulevard, there's the organized team sports, Central. I played soccer, basketball, softball. So it's just been tremendous, everything that Bristol has given me, developed me as an athlete and as a person. So I'm really honored to be here today and part of that rich sports community that we have here at Bristol. And I think that something that I share from my lived experiences as an international school teacher and as someone who is attempting to gracefully age as an athlete, it's something I share will encourage you to start prioritizing your brain health now. And I know that's something that teenagers don't necessarily think about every day, but as you get up there, it's something that I can't stop thinking about. So I want to start with a major confession. Can everyone hear me like that? Yeah. Okay, great. I want to start with a major confession that throughout my, well, actually, a few people maybe saw me play sports in high school, so they might have some opinions on this, but throughout my entire high school and college sports career, I now know I was a slapper. I didn't know it at the time, and I don't think that any of my teammates or coaches or opponents would recognize that, but thanks to some professional development that I did as a PE teacher, I learned that I was nowhere near putting in maximum effort when I was playing games. So what happened at this workshop, the workshop was specifically to help teachers figure out other ways of teaching people with a fitness-based approach or a social emotional-based approach rather than a sports approach. And so they were teaching us about, okay, find your heart rate, and here's your resting heart rate, that's a good healthy level, and here's your target heart rate, and here's your maximum heart rate. So we were learning this, and this was very hands-on in this whole week of trying to get into philosophy, speed with philosophy. So then they also were teaching us a game to play. So we're all PE teachers, right? So we're all into, let's play a game. So it's basically like modified game, because you want the students to be more active and get more steps and play more vigorously. So there were modified rules. So it's like a handball game with soccer sort of rules where you're throwing. So it was an invasion game. You had to, all the skills that you need in any invasion game, they're using that. But there were multiple balls and zones, so that it was no stoppage play, so that you were really working hard. You had to run around a lot. So, okay, we're a bunch of PE teachers. We always have the most fun at professional development, and we're playing this game. But the point was, every once in a while, they would blow the whistle, you would stop, you would take your 10-second pulse and see how you're doing. Hey, are you in your target heart rate, or are you not? So, okay, play ball. And I'm playing, and as I found in high school and college, I'm playing very well. I'm active out there, doing good things for my team. So I think that, yeah, hey, I'm good. But every time they blew the whistle, if I took a 10-second pulse, I was down. I was not in my target heart rate. So I had that realization right then and there, like, whoa, I just spent my entire life not working up to my potential. Didn't know what my potential was. So I sometimes wonder how much better I could have been as an athlete in high school or in college. I had that knowledge and that technology to monitor my efforts. So actually, as a follow-up to that too, after learning that, I bought a heart rate monitor, which in those days you had to be strapped it. It was very annoying, and it was connected to here. And I decided that, okay, instead of I did a 5K run where I was living in a beautiful course right outside my door. That was exactly 5 kilometers. And I usually it was mine to do it in 25 minutes. But after learning about this target heart rate stuff, I was like, wait, instead of doing it for 25 minutes, let me make sure that I'm at this target heart rate that I learned about in that class. And so, pay attention to that and picking up my speed to stay at that effort. And then that's the way I train. So then the next time I signed up for a 5K run, which I did all the time when I was there living in Japan, because for some reason in Japan they call 5K runs marathons. It was always making me feel kind of cool that you're signed up for all those marathons. So the next 5K marathon that I did, I blew my personal best out of the water. I was 22 minutes, just because I had a little bit more knowledge and technology that made me improve my performance. So that was really pretty revolutionary for me. And maybe the start of about really an obsession that I had. That was in 2008 when I had that realization that I was a slacker. But I'm glad I have a takeaway at least now that just a little bit of high intensity interval training can really maximize your benefits, your performance. But now what I'm realizing it's even better for my brain and for our brains to do that. So I'm obsessed with exercise in the brain, and I can trace this obsession to that time in 2008. And there were a couple of things. One, I grew up, my grandmother had dementia. I saw the entire process from start to finish, so I was always interested in brain health, about what's going on, how can I prevent that from me. And then the second thing was this book that was published in 2008 by a Harvard neurospecialist and a professor there. It's called Spark, The Revolutionary New Science of Exercise in the Brain. So in 2008, that was revolutionary. I think right now we sort of know there's scientific proof, right? You exercise, it's for your moods, good for your attention. It's actually can create some new brain cells. It strengthens some brain neurons. It does all these really good things for you. But back in 2008, that was news to me. And so as a PE teacher who's kind of used to getting beat up a bit where people would make fun of you with your job, I don't know, that happened. PE teachers there, they don't think you're a real teacher or whatever. This book was like, ding, ding, ding. I bought copies to give to my principal, to the head of school. I was promoting it with the parents and students and anyone who would listen, basically. And I just really changed the whole focus of the way I was teaching. This was an elementary school, but to getting away from the sports model and getting into just moving and getting the steps and elevating the heart rate so that maximum benefits for your brain. So I use all sorts of stuff at school into this book. All the teachers, classroom teachers, I would do workshops, I have classroom energizers, get kids out of their seats. When your bum is on, your brain's the same, just learn how to do that. Even our assemblies in elementary school, we would start with golden rule. You remember that? We would start with one golden rule, elementary school, or something, so that they could sit down and focus better for the assembly that was going on. I bought class sets of pedometers so that kids could the old-fashioned pedometers, not on your wrist or anything. You would put them on your belt, and kids could then see how active were they in PE class, how active were they in recess, and then they can plan their goals accordingly. I started a program before school we called the Spark Start, and specifically invited the kids who were struggling the most with their attention in the homeroom class. And talked to the parents and invited them to come in. And we just, for 20 minutes, we just played like full-on fun tag games, fast-paced games that were very engaging, and then sent them off to class so to start the Smart Start for their day. And I also started a recess running program that was optional, but our playground was like 200 meters, and so they had a little car, and every time we went around once they knocked off the 200 meter mark, and then they got celebrated every time we got 5K, 5 kilometers. So, I have kilometers here, right? But I have spent my adult life in places that are in kilometers, so I sometimes forget that when I'm here. So, one really cool story on that, there were these fourth grade girls who every day at recess, they were not active. They sat and talked and watched the boys play soccer. And soccer was king. That was a sport that most of the kids liked. The kids that like to play sports at my school in Japan, they like soccer. So these 4 girls just every recess sat. But when that recess option came up, they started to, instead of just sitting and talking, they walked and talked. Not running, but they walked. And because we did the record keeping, they were among some of the first students. They actually completed 100 kilometers. That's like over 60 miles just by walking during recess. So it's like, wow, I mean, that really blew me away that. I think they could make one lesson out of that. But okay, what's better, sitting and watching boys play soccer or walking and talking with your friends and getting 100 kilometers? So I was just really motivated to let everyone know about this. By the time I left that school, I stayed at that one school for 11 years. And as an international school, it's quite common. You have the preschools all the way up to 12th grade. And so it's a cool community for the expatriates that are living, their whole families are at the same school. Nice community in a foreign country, right? So when I left that school, basically everyone at that school, every teacher and kid, they were very familiar with my mantra, if your bone is numb, your brain's the same. So luckily, I get to move a little bit. I'm sorry that you guys are just sitting there. There was one professional development trip that I took to Nepal. That was a Teachers Helping Teachers event. Primarily it was for teaching English teachers in Nepal and giving them some strategies on how they teach English. It was some college professor friends of mine in Japan who were teaching English in Japan that organized it. But I tagged along on the trip using the stuff on this book that it's not good when the kids are sitting in their classroom all day. And so we went to one school in some village in Nepal, and the building, or the classroom, was maybe the size of just 2 of these tables, but there were like 4 rows of kids, and there were like kids everywhere, 12, just cramped into that one space. So that was kind of an interesting challenge that I go in. I'm trying to teach the teachers, or explain to teachers why it's good to get out of their seat, but also look at you in that space. But we made it work that even in that tiny, tiny little space where they are, like where you are right now, you could always just get up and do something to get your brain going, right? Cross crawl to the lawn, or just even jumping in place or whatever. So it was kind of fun to, on the spot, have to figure out something that would get those kids engaged. They were packed into their little classroom. So earlier I mentioned that I never stopped playing sports, although nowadays I would consider an ultimate win is just staying safe and not hurting others when I play, but I'm also very keenly aware of all the win-win benefits that my participation in sports now as an adult has for my brain. So that would include right having healthy blood sugar, good BMI, good body mass index, healthy levels of aerobic activity, your social relationships, and the stimulation of just having novel experiences. So seeing that I think that Mr. Zayo just contacted me because of some interesting, I've been around the world. So I have had some pretty novel and therefore very brain-friendly experiences playing sports while I lived and traveled abroad. I've taught in 17 schools in 6 countries. And my country was actually India. I taught 2 different schools in India, 2 different cities. In Canada, I spent a whole season playing curling. So that's maybe popular now in the Winter Olympics, but that was certainly interesting. When I lived in Kuwait, I was in a league that played bocce, but it was actually with some Special Olympic athletes, so I was there volunteering. And then at that sports facility after playing bocce, there were these 3 guys who were very elite Paralympic basketball players. And so it was the routine that after I played bocce, we would play 2v2 basketball, where they were in wheelchairs. I was upright, but they were incredible. That was our introduction to Paralympic Games, which I actually had the opportunity to see the Winter Games were held in Korea. The last Winter Olympics, I was living there for 2 days, but I was able to go to some of the sledge hockey, the curling. It was unbelievable. The athletes are so inspiring. When I lived also in Kuwait, my friends, I had a lot of British and Australian friends, and they were playing netball. There's a netball league there. So netball was interesting because I've never seen that played in the States, but it's like on a basketball court, and it's a hoop like basketball, but there's 3 sections, and you can't go over. You have to stay in your zone the whole time. So it's a dribble, passing, and shooting game, but once you get to the line, you can't go past your zone. And then they also had this rule that I really struggled with, that no contact at all. So anytime you touched anyone, they would blow the whistle. So that was a disaster. I was getting whistled nonstop. But I eventually picked it up. And that was pretty fun. We had the chance to travel internationally for a Middle Eastern netball tournament with that team. In Abu Dhabi, I played softball in the middle of the desert. It was a softball league. And then we had the opportunity to travel to Dubai for tournaments from teams all over the Middle East, expatriates mostly, that would go every fall and spring. And then I was also a member of a recreational cycle club that we did weekly local rides, but we'd also occasionally go out on domestic trips or international trips with our bikes. And in Japan, where I spent the most time in one place, which was 11 years, I played a sport that I bet you someday you'll hear about it because it's so fun. It will make its way to your mission. It's called yukigassen. Is anyone studying Japanese? Yuki is snow gassen battle, so it's basically like you play it out in the snow and there's barriers. It's a combination of a snowball fight, capture the flag, and dodgeball. So there's lots of rules because the Japanese created it. There's lots of rules and strategies and whatnot. But it was so fun to play. So it's prefectural tournaments. It's like the States. Yeah, I organized a team of people from our school community, and we went for several years in a row. And, that was pretty fun. And then also there's been mud volleyball out in the rice fields. So when they flood the rice fields, we play. So a very strange feeling. Your feet would be in the mud, and you can't even jump because you're in the mud. But that was very good, messy fun. And also dragon boat racing. I was the only person that was not a native speaker Japanese, so that was extra especially challenging for my brain. I've also done dragon boat racing here in Connecticut, in Hartford. There's a rowing club, very excellent facility right along Connecticut from Hartford. They have all sorts of rowing classes for all ages. If you want to try something new or give it something novel and fun, yeah, the crew or the rowing is just tremendous for your brain health. But just the act of trying something new is excellent for your brain health. So my most recent pursuit, which is very recent, because I only started like 1 week ago today, is 3v3 over 50 basketball in Connecticut. So I like this movement of the pickleball and 3v3. It's a little bit more accessible, right? More inclusive. It's easier when you don't have to run that court. Less likely to get hurt is also a plus. So yeah, I heard there was a plan, and thought I need to mix things up a little bit because I was not getting so motivated to go whatever, do things on my own. So I joined them last week, and yeah, super fun. Like we were playing competitively, but yeah, we weren't keeping score. You know, we really were out there just having fun and getting some fitness in, and everything that we did for our again, the brain health. So you're not much thinking about your brain health right now, but your future selves, you do know that as you get a little older, even starting at age 25, there are always opportunities and ways to continue playing sports through the state Masters Games. So there's the Connecticut Masters Games, you can do U.S. Masters Games, there's the Pan American Masters Games, and there's even international Masters Games every 4 years. So you just kind of find a sport you want to play. For instance, people, it's not like you have to qualify. It's just your desire. If you want to play, you can find one of these organizations and sign up and join and go. And no need to be an elite athlete. So I certainly would recommend that. But then also, right in Bristol, our own park department offers all sorts of interesting, cool sporting offerings for all ages. And I have to say, I'm also looking forward to Bristol. I need to get a couple years older, but I'm looking forward to joining the senior center. It's actually an old former school, and they have a lot going on there, sports-wise and otherwise. But the stimulation, you can get your gym membership. It's $10 a year. They have a gym for basketball and as well as equipment, and they do all sorts of classes. So. There's my busy. So I have just a brain trivia question for you. Think about it, talk with your neighbors here for a bit. Around what age is the human brain considered fully formed?
He's learning some stuff. You just learned. I learned it at pregnancy.
All right, we'll touch this on too, because a lot of this is great, a lot of information you don't know. I didn't know until recently, or until I got reading about the brain. But someone over there maybe has some background knowledge and we graduated.
25.
Ding, 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 ding. So actually, when I went down the rabbit hole with learning that, there's some interesting factoids like a baby, a bird, is about 25% of an adult brain. By age 5, it's like 90% size-wise. In the first year of life, the brain doubles in the brain. So age 5, like 90%. But yeah, our brains are not fully gelled up until about 25 to 30. And it's actually the prefrontal cortex, part of your brain right here, is the last area of the brain to develop. So that's That's the area that you are still under construction on right now as teenagers. So among many things that the prefrontal cortex does, it's responsible for planning, decision making, and considering consequences of your actions. So, right, in light of that, it really does make perfect sense that at your age, you're not normally thinking about your brain or your long-term brain health. But whatever rambling I've done here today, you know, knowledge is power. So I just want to leave you with the next time you lace up your sneakers to go play your sport. I encourage you to take a second to acknowledge that, well, you're actually doing something really good for your brain.